Warning, the video you're about to view contains disturbing facts about America's decline and how it is now threatening your family's financial security. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, this is Martin Weiss, chairman and founder of Weiss Research. Weiss Research is the only firm in America that rated and specifically named well ahead of time all the companies that got crushed by the last crisis, including General Motors, Lehman Brothers, Fannie Mae, Citigroup, and dozens more. Those who ignored our warnings lost nearly everything. Those who heeded them had the opportunity to make fortunes. But now our nation's predicament is far more serious. A great American apocalypse is upon us. Insane government spending, massive debts, out-of-control money printing, and almost unimaginable political cowardice are about to exact a heavy toll from each of us. And now, as these massive debts begin to implode, and as the U.S. dollar plunges in value worldwide, everything in your life is set to change radically. Millions of Americans are about to lose their income, their savings, their buying power, their homes. But if you heed these warnings and follow the defensive steps I outline in this video, there is still time to protect yourself and your family. This is a crucial moment for me personally as well. I founded my company, Weiss Research, 40 years ago to give investors honest analysis of the economy and their investments with no conflicts of interest. I'm particularly proud of the fact that since 1971, my firm has accurately warned of every major financial crisis, including the infamous Bloody Monday stock market crash in 1987, the giant insurance company failures of the 1990s, the tech wreck in 2000, and the recent housing bust, debt crisis, and credit collapse that began in 2007. As a result, Newsmax said, Weiss's prediction of the current economic crisis is uncanny. Barron said, Weiss is the leader in identifying vulnerable companies. And the New York Times said we were the first to see the dangers and say so unambiguously. Now I have 3 new warnings for you. And the first one is this. Unless our government makes a 180-degree turn, just about everything you buy, food, energy, clothing, and more, will double, triple, even quadruple in price. And the reason why your cost of living is about to explode is enough to make anyone fighting mad. In the 218 years since the U.S. dollar was born in 1792, the United States has suffered through one great civil war that devastated the nation's finances, one massive flu pandemic that killed at least 50 million people worldwide, shutting down the U.S. economy, one great dust bowl and depression that left millions homeless and unemployed, the worst U.S. financial disaster of the 20th century. We have survived 10 major foreign wars and 44 recessions that have destroyed hundreds of thousands of businesses and millions of jobs. But throughout all these disasters, the U.S. government has never abused its money printing power like it's doing today. Like a mad counterfeiter, cranking out mountains of $100 bills to feed America's outrageous debt addiction, Federal Reserve Chief Ben Bernanke is running amok. We are experiencing the wildest Fed money printing of all time, far more than anything we've seen in recent years. For example, back in 1999, when the Fed feared that the Y2K computer bug would destroy the banking system, Fed Chairman Greenspan pumped in what the experts at that time thought was a huge amount of money. Then, after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the Fed again pumped in what the experts said was a huge amount of money at that time. But now look, today, Fed Chairman Bernanke's new money printing makes all those prior money printing episodes look like tiny hiccups by comparison. The horrific truth is that the U.S. Federal Reserve is now engaged in the greatest money printing scheme since the Weimar Republic in Germany. That's when the German government printed so much money, it ultimately took 3 trillion marks to buy a single dollar. That's when money was worth less than wallpaper, and when the seeds were planted for the most destructive war in the history of mankind. I know it may be hard to believe that could be happening again, but just consider the facts. From September 10th, 2008, through the end of 2010, the Federal Reserve Chief increased the nation's monetary base from $851 billion to $2.03 trillion. That's an irresponsible, irrational, absolutely insane increase of 138.6% in America's monetary base in just 27 months. And there's literally no end in sight. I will give you step-by-step instructions on what to do in a moment. But for right now, please bear in mind this key fact. The Fed is still running the printing presses 24/7. And Fed Chief Bernanke has made it crystal clear that he will continue burying the world in newly created dollars to finance our record federal deficits. So, with no real end to this madness in sight, global investors have been dumping dollars on a massive scale, sending the greenback into a nosedive. And believe it or not, there's an even more terrifying threat to the U.S. dollar on the horizon. On February 10th, 2011, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, disclosed details of its plan to replace the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. Here's what that means. Right now, the U.S. dollar is the currency used for most international trade and settlements. And because many items sold on the world markets can only be purchased with dollars, many countries are forced to buy dollars whether they like it or not. But now, the Fed's massive counterfeiting scheme has the IMF, the United Nations, the central banks of countries from China to Russia, and even the UK demanding a change. Here's the big danger. If a new currency replaces the dollar, the prices of just about everything you buy will skyrocket. Unless Washington makes dramatic changes, the dollar will go into free fall and light the fuse on the greatest explosion in consumer prices and in your cost of living in our lifetime. Oil prices, gasoline prices, food prices, all could double, triple, quadruple, or more. You could suddenly find yourself paying more than $11 for a gallon of gasoline, $5 for a dozen eggs, $4 for a loaf of bread, $9 for a pound of hamburger, $10 for a gallon of milk. This could not be more serious. Skyrocketing food and energy prices mean millions will suffer a sudden reduction in their standard of living. It will push millions of less affluent Americans over the line into poverty and utter dependence on the government. How can you defend yourself and your investments? In a moment, I'll give you some easy steps to take starting right now. But first, let's ask this question. How bad could things get? Well, you know about the unrest that overthrew Egypt's government. You saw the chaos in the streets of Libya, Yemen, Bahrain, and even in countries that were supposedly among the most stable in the world. The demonstrators and rioters themselves said that they took to the streets because of the most basic of human needs, food and soaring prices. Yes, the U.S. is a far more advanced country with a more democratic government, but this situation demands immediate defensive action. If you don't defend your buying power now, it could soon be too late. That's why I've just published an emergency survival guide to help you prepare before this great crisis destroys your standard of living. The title is The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012. And in your free copy, we name the investments that are likely to soar the most as the dollar continues to plunge. Plus, we give you our comprehensive strategy to protect your wealth as the dollar dives. For example, we named the institution that allows you to keep your deposits in any major foreign currency that you like. You automatically grow richer when the dollar plunges. And we give you the best ways to profit from gold, both the yellow metal itself and shares of companies that produce it. In your free copy of the Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012, you'll learn which gold investments to buy, when and how, plus the pitfalls to avoid. As the dollar declines, I expect these investments to do more than merely protect you. I expect they'll make you substantially richer. One of these vehicles, a play on soaring gold bullion prices, can be purchased now for around $475. If gold rises as we expect it will over the next year, you could grab a profit of 376.8%, enough to turn $10,000 into $47,680. Plus, in your free copy of The Great American Apocalypse, we give you the help you need to protect yourself and profit from two great debt crises that are also threatening America's very survival. The first is the massive implosion of federal debt that's now threatening to erode or even destroy your retirement, your Social Security, your health care, and more. Our national debt is now over $14 trillion. Our annual deficits are running over $1 trillion year after year after year. And those deficits are growing quickly. The White House recently admitted that the deficit for 2011 will break all previous records. That's right. The 2011 budget deficit will be $1.7 trillion. Yes, Washington bailed out General Motors, Fannie Mae, AIG, and dozens of giant banks, but there's no one on the planet rich enough to bail out America. Can entire countries actually go bankrupt? You bet they can, and they already have gone bankrupt. Just a few months ago, Greece literally went bankrupt and was bailed out by richer nations in Europe. Then it was Ireland's turn to go bankrupt, and it was also bailed out by Europe. Now, this same crisis is spreading to the United States. But I repeat, there's no one on earth rich enough to bail out America. So what do government debt crises actually feel and look like? The answer is clear. They have already caused national labor strikes in Spain, Greece, and Italy. Massive street protests all over Europe, including Ireland, Great Britain, and other countries. Firebombing of banks and government buildings, and even demands that the government be replaced. And of course, these debt crises have also caused huge cutbacks in government spending, including massive reductions in retirement and medical benefits. Some people think it can't happen here. But if you're among them, listen to David Walker, former U.S. Comptroller General and former head of the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the GAO. Here is Mr. Walker himself speaking in his own words.
Well, the Greeks engaged in a variety of creative accounting practices, and there were a lot of big and bad surprises that caused this situation to erupt. You know, the U.S. has been engaging in a lot of creative accounting for years with regard to the Social Security Trust Fund. Now we've got major creative accounting going on with the government-sponsored entities, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We own a supermajority of them, but we're not consolidating them into the financial statements. We don't consolidate the Federal Reserve into the financial statements. And so the bottom line is we're not Greece, but we could end up with their same problems.
Mr. Walker is dead right, and here's why it's so critical. Greece's problems included crashing stock and bond prices, 18% interest rates, and riots in the streets. How soon could it happen here? Walker points to 2012. Now, you've probably heard already about the impact this great federal debt crisis is likely to have on your life. In fact, at this very moment, congressional Republicans and Democrats are desperately working on ways to cut federal spending. But they now admit that they can't fix the problem without putting the biggest items on the chopping block: Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, and more. That puts millions of older Americans between a rock and a hard place. Either Washington cuts their benefits, in which case their income goes down and their medical costs go up, or Washington fails to cut those benefits, the deficit explodes, bond investors go on strike, and interest rates soar like they did in Greece. That scenario would be even worse because it would make it impossible for Washington to meet its obligations to seniors. Meanwhile, we are now witnessing America's second great debt crisis, which is even more pressing. It's the massive debt crisis in our states and cities. Our state and local governments owe the poor, the infirm, and seniors up to $2 trillion more than they can pay. Plus, they also owe more to pension funds than they can pay, a whopping $3.5 trillion. For the past couple of years, the states have been scraping by on billions of dollars in federal stimulus funds. But now, that money is also gone. The day of reckoning is at hand. A massive chain of state and local bond defaults could begin at virtually any moment. One after another, nearly every state in the country is revealing massive deficits, declaring a financial emergency, and cutting essential services. There's no overstating how serious or how pressing this crisis is. Unlike Washington, the states cannot merely print money to pay their bills. Unlike Washington, they are bound by law to balance their budgets each and every year. But most U.S. states and cities cannot balance their budgets. Decades of gross mismanagement and corruption have left them with only one choice: to cut their budgets to the bone and pray for a miracle. And that's precisely what they're doing right now. States and cities are laying off police officers en masse. They're putting prisoners back on the street because there's not enough money to house them. Philadelphia, Baltimore, Sacramento, and many other cities are laying off firefighters and emergency medical personnel, shutting down firehouses. Many states, including New York and New Jersey, have refused to pay their pension funds. Governor Chris Christie slashed New Jersey's budget by 26%. He laid off thousands of teachers, fired 1,300 state workers, and drastically reduced funding to cities and counties. Illinois recently raised income taxes 67%, and it's still not enough to solve its deficit nightmare. Also in Illinois, pharmacies have closed because the state failed to make its required Medicaid payments, and state employees are being evicted from their offices for non-payment of rent. Arizona is so desperate, it sold its state capitol, Supreme Court building, and legislative chambers, and now leases the building from their new owner. As a result, even the New York Times recently warned that for the first time since the 1930s, we're likely to see U.S. states default on their debts. And now time is running out. The first major state or municipal defaults could explode into the headlines at any moment. That's not just my view. On 60 Minutes, analyst Meredith Whitney, who accurately predicted the global credit crunch, predicted that up to 100 major American cities are likely to go bust this year. Our advice: use any respite from this crisis to get out of every single investment that falls when interest rates rise. That includes municipal bonds, treasury bonds, many mutual funds, and even annuities. We will give you specific instructions on exactly what to sell, when, and how in your free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012. Plus, We'll introduce you to investments that soar when interest rates skyrocket. One of these is a simple exchange-traded fund, an ETF, that is specifically designed to quadruple in value when interest rates double. These three crises, the dollar's demise, Washington's debt catastrophe, and the collapse of state and local debt, will create many more financial dangers and opportunities in the weeks and months ahead. For example, in your free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012, we reveal how these crises will dash any hope for a recovery in real estate in this decade. But you'll discover how you can harness this ongoing decline in real estate to go for investment profits of 56%. And that's just if the real estate outlook gets no worse than it already is. If soaring mortgage rates and the plunging dollar hammer the real estate market, all bets are off. You could make much more. Right now, for instance, with as little as $225, you can buy an investment that's designed to skyrocket when the real estate sector sinks. With the right timing, you could walk away with profits of 368.9%. That's enough to turn every $10,000 you invest into $46,890. The best part is, while your profit potential is virtually unlimited, your risk of loss is strictly limited. We'll also help you protect yourself and profit as these three crises trigger a second wave of major bank failures from coast to coast. This new banking crisis is so explosive, Washington is doing everything in its power to keep it under wraps. It's so hush-hush, the Treasury has deliberately spread blatant disinformation about the strength of our banks. Time after time, Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner and his associates have announced that U.S. banks are, quote, out of the woods and gaining strength. The fact is that more banks are failing today than were failing in the depth of the 2008 debt crisis. Moreover, the FDIC has a list of banks on the brink, and that list is growing by leaps and bounds. But the FDIC refuses to reveal the names of those banks. Those names are the best-kept secret in the financial world. That's why 24 years ago, my company began issuing objective safety ratings on 13,000 banks and thrifts to name the banks in trouble and to give you the truth you need to protect your hard-earned money. We never grade on a curve. If a company is weak, we say so, immediately, no delays and no sugarcoating. And we name the strong banks that are worthy of your trust. Our independence and our objectivity help explain why we have accurately identified the weakness of nearly all banks that subsequently failed in the last 23 years. This is why Esquire magazine says Weiss is the one company that provides financial grades free of any conflict of interest. So the critical question is, what do the Weiss ratings say about the health of U.S. banks today? Better hang on to your hat. We count at least 14 giant U.S. banks that are vulnerable to this crisis. They include Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, SunTrust, Regions Bank, Capital One, and more. And that's only the giant banks. Altogether, more than 2,000 U.S. banks and thrifts are on our current list of weakest banks. And now, with mortgage defaults still soaring, and with Congress in no mood to bail out the banks a second time, many of those banks are vulnerable to the next phase of this crisis. This is dead serious. If your bank fails, even if it's bailed out or taken over by the FDIC, you could miss out on promised interest income. Plus, you could also lose access to your lines of credit and suffer other serious expenses and inconveniences. Worse, if you own the bank's stocks, bonds, or debentures, or if you have deposits that are not insured by the FDIC, you could suffer substantial losses. For these reasons, I strongly recommend that you take these critical self-defense steps immediately. First, make sure your bank is not on our list of vulnerable banks. I'll invite you to claim a free copy of this list in a minute. Step 2 is to move your money to a bank that has earned a spot on our list of America's safest banks. Also, in a moment, I'll offer you our safest bank list and even give you the rating on the bank you're using now, all for free. Third, be sure to cleanse your investment portfolio of our low-rated bank stocks. These are stocks that are likely to crash and burn when the banking crisis returns. Fourth, I strongly recommend that you use weakness in America's financial sector to go for double-digit gains with funds you've allocated for growth. In your free guide, for instance, we'll introduce you to the ETF that's likely to soar at least 60%, even if the banking industry's woes are no worse than the last time around. And if you're more adventurous, you can go for even larger gains using funds you can play with. Right now, for instance, you can buy a bet on further declines in the U.S. financial sector for just $51. And if you time it right, you could walk away with a gain of 364.7%. Every $10,000 you invest would be worth $46,470. We give you the details on all of these investments in your free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012. Now, you certainly don't need a PhD in economics to figure out what all this means for the U.S. stock market. With Washington's $14 trillion in debt and $1.7 trillion deficit on the verge of imploding, with states like California, Illinois, New Jersey, and New York nearly in financial ruin, with the entire housing and construction industry locked in the savage jaws of a killer real estate depression, with more than 2,000 banks vulnerable to this crisis, with the U.S. Federal Reserve flooding the world with newly created dollars, and with leaders all around the globe demanding that the dollar be replaced as the world's reserve currency, the U.S. stock market is now as vulnerable as a toy balloon in a room full of razor blades. Mark my words, this may be the only warning you get. When the first domino falls, it will be too late to protect your wealth. And that first domino could fall quite literally at any moment. Nobody knows for sure which straw will break the camel's back. It could be another explosive revolution in the Middle East. It could be the sudden default of a major state or city. It could be the announcement that the dollar has been replaced as the world's reserve currency. But there's one thing you can be sure of. Those who fail to shore up their defenses now could suddenly find themselves much poorer soon. Here again, your self-defense is critical. Start by selling every stock that's vulnerable, and we'll show you which ones they are in your free emergency guide. In fact, we'll give you our complete list of all major U.S. stocks with the weakest ratings. Next, I recommend that you raise as much cash as you can and then hold that cash in the contrarian investments we name in your free emergency investment guide. One of those is gold, and an easy way to buy gold is with an exchange-traded fund that owns nothing but gold, symbol GLD. Also in your free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012, we'll give you the investments that are specifically designed to make you at least $1, $2, or even $3 richer for every $1 decline in the most vulnerable stocks. We also name the investments that could multiply your money when the S&P declines. 100% if the decline happens within 2 years, 134.4% if it happens in 1 year, and 155.4% if it occurs in 6 months or less. And still, all this is only a mere taste of what's awaiting you in your free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012. In fact, without this timely survival guide, I'd go so far as to say that your money is in greater danger now than at any time in the past 50 years. This sober, eye-opening analysis of the economy and the investment markets could save you from losing at least half of your wealth in the months ahead. And what's more, the investments we recommend could help you pile up more money in the next 2 years than you did in the last 20. The simple truth is, our warnings could have more than doubled your money in phase 1 of this crisis. If you had heeded our recommendations then, you could have been safely out of stocks and in things that soar when stocks sink, like the special exchange traded funds that soared 51%, 76%, up to 99% and more, even as the S&P 500 declined. And you could have done even better with your speculative funds, as the companies we named as candidates for failure toppled over like dominoes. Take Lehman, for instance. If you had bought a particular limited-risk, long-term vehicle when we warned that the company would fail, you could have grabbed a gain of 244.8%, more than a triple. And following the same strategy, you could have grabbed even larger gains when Washington Mutual failed, and also when Wachovia bit the dust, when Citigroup went down in flames, and when Bear Stearns crashed and burned. Of course, you can't go back in time to reap those gains now, and nor can I. But you don't have to, because we see even greater opportunities ahead. In a nutshell, the Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012 could literally mean the difference between financial success and financial failure, but only if you heed its urgent warnings and act on them immediately. Normally, this remarkable volume would cost you $79, but I want you to have your free copy free of charge with your no-risk trial membership in our Safe Money Investor Service. Safe Money is like nothing you've ever seen, a comprehensive service created from the ground up to help you protect and grow your wealth even in tough times like these. Not only do you receive a free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012 just for joining, and not only is your new membership fully covered by our 100% satisfaction guarantee, but we're also slashing our membership rates to the bone to help you prepare for this Great American Apocalypse. Normally, a 1-year membership in Safe Money is $196, and traditionally we offer new memberships to new friends at half price, just $98. But to help you protect and grow your wealth through this crisis, we're doing something we've never done before. As a one-time only event, we have cut that low rate by half. Just click the button below, and you can lock in a full year of the Safe Money Investor Service for just $49. You save $147 off the regular rate, and you receive a full year of Safe Money for less than 14 cents per day. You can be downloading your emergency investment guides in seconds. Then each month for the next year, you'll receive updates with our Safe Money Report newsletter. In each issue, you get incisive economic analysis and guidance from our editor, Mike Larson, and from me, backed up by nearly 100 Weiss analysts and support personnel. We use our Weiss ratings to scan the U.S. and world economies for opportunity and danger. That's why Fortune magazine says we provide the most comprehensive source of information. And it's also why our stock ratings were rated number 1 as reported in the Wall Street Journal. You also get the ultimate in safety, expert help to protect you from these and other threats to your wealth with the safest, highest yielding investments in the world today in our regular Mr. Conservative column. You get the ultimate in high-powered investments, investment picks designed to multiply your money in our regular Mr. Speculator column. You get timely warnings from our proprietary Weiss ratings that track the fundamental strength of more than 8,000 banks and S&Ls, plus 4,200 insurance companies. With Safe Money, you can always know precisely how safe and how risky the companies you deal with really are. You get Safe Money's comprehensive lists of both the most vulnerable stocks and the least vulnerable stocks in the United States. Every issue of Safe Money is packed with specific and actionable recommendations designed to protect your wealth, grow your nest egg, and increase your income, so you can live well and financially secure no matter how ugly things might get. You also get flash alerts by email to make sure you can always know what to do next. Whenever major developments in the economy or financial markets make it crucial that we get urgent advice to you fast. You get a free membership in our daily Money and Markets online letter with economic and investment news, analysis, and recommendations. All of these powerful tools are yours free by joining Safe Money now. So, considering the fact that you get a full year of these time-tested money-making tools, plus a free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012, and considering that by joining now you save $147 and receive a full year of Safe Money for less than 14 cents per day, I'm 100% confident that you'll be every bit as thrilled with your membership. And to make absolutely sure you'll be delighted with your membership in Safe Money Investor Service, it's completely covered by our unique $5,000 or free membership guarantee. Just click on the button below to join us now. Then take as long as you like, right up until the last day of your first year on board, to make your final decision. You must agree that Safe Money has saved you or made you at least $5,000, more than 101 times your membership fee, or you can keep everything and we'll rush you a full refund. And to underscore how urgent it is that you immediately begin preparing for the economic chaos ahead, I will give you 3 more emergency guides. In addition to the Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012, I will give you the Weiss Safe Bank List, our complete list of the 962 highest-rated banks in America. Each of these institutions has passed our rigorous screening to be among the most likely to survive and thrive, even in the worst of times. Your third emergency guide is the Weiss Portfolio Defender, with all the details on investments that are designed from the ground up to rise in value as markets decline. These strategies and investments are a great way to protect your portfolio and also a great way to go for truly huge profits. And your fourth free guide is the Safe Money Gold and Silver Strategy, your detailed plan for investing in gold, silver, and other precious metals. I think it's absolutely essential for protecting your buying power and quality of life, no matter how far the US dollar plunges. Normally, our survival guides would sell for $79 each, or $316 in all. But all 4 are yours completely free, just for accepting a risk-free trial to our Safe Money Investor Service. Plus, just click on the button below within the next 10 minutes, and we will also give you free ratings on your bank or S&L, your insurance company, your common stocks, your mutual funds, and your ETFs, up to 10 free ratings in all. The best part is you won't have to wait to receive these valuable bonuses. You will get them instantly via email. Look, I know the warnings in this video are extreme, and I know that many viewers will be tempted to dismiss them. Even though economic meltdowns of this magnitude have hammered other countries through history, most folks believe it could never happen here. But please bear in mind, our warnings have been spot on at every major turning point of this crisis. Now, I'm warning you again. A great American apocalypse is upon us. Millions of trusting Americans who accept the hype coming from Washington and Wall Street at face value, who actually believe that the worst is behind us, are about to lose everything. If you heed this solemn warning and take the steps we detail in your free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012, you stand an excellent chance of coming through this crisis much richer than you are now. More than that, you stand an excellent chance of declaring your own personal bull market in 2011 and beyond. I sincerely hope you were not among the victims of the stock crash of 2007-2009. But even if you were, there's no sense crying over spilt milk. The question you have to answer is, what do I do now? In turbulent times like these, my mission as the founder of Weiss Research is to help you keep growing your wealth as fast as you could be, as you should be, all with today's safest, highest potential investments. And your free copy of The Great American Apocalypse of 2011-2012, plus your 3 other emergency guides, give them to you. This should be a remarkably easy decision for you to make. Just click on the button below right now so you can download instantly your 4 free investment guides. And so we can give you a rating right now on your bank, your insurance company, your stocks, ETFs, and mutual funds. You'll feel better, and from now on you'll sleep better and grow your wealth faster. Let me hear from you right away. Thank you for watching.